Hello, good morning students. We are already discussing about the characteristics of cross product. Okay. So our fifth characteristics is the cross product of parallel vectors or anti-parallel vectors is equal to 0. Now if two vectors are they are parallel to each other, so we can write the angle inclination between these two vectors must be equal to 0. So therefore we can write here theta is equal to 0. So if theta is equal to 0, then sine 0 is equal to what? 0. So what is the cross product of this? The cross product of these two vector is vector A cross of vector B is equal to AB sine theta. AB sine theta. Vector A cross of vector B is equal to AB sin theta. So write down here instead of theta 0, that is AB sin 0, and we know the value of sin 0, that is 0. So therefore AB into 0, that is 0. So this is the proof of if two vectors are parallel to each other like this. Suppose two vectors are parallel to each other, then there is no angle inclination at all. So angle should be equal to 0 here. That's why sine 0 is equal to 0. Vector A cross of vector B is equal to AB sine theta. Therefore AB sine, instead of theta we write here 0. So sine 0 is equal to 0. AB into 0 is equal to 0. Means if two vectors are parallel to each other, then the cross product of that two vector is always equal to 0. So this is the characteristics of this cross product. Now this is about the parallel vectors. Now what happened in case of, suppose these two vectors are, instead of this parallel, if they are anti-parallel to each other like this, okay, or we can say the anti-parallel of these two vectors are like this. So such vectors are anti-parallels because they are acting in different direction, or we can say exactly opposite directions. See the this vector, it has direction, it has also directions. So the direction of these two vectors must be opposite to each other. Therefore what about the angle inclination if two vectors are acting exactly opposite to each other? So it is very simple. So see here, this is perpendicular, that is 90 degree. So if we increases this vector greater than 90 degree, then what we get here? The angle increases above 90 degree, and if it becomes exactly opposite to the first vector, then it is equal to 180 degree. Okay. So angle here, angle is equal to 180 degree. So let us try to solve if two vectors are anti-parallel to each other. So two vectors are there and they are exactly opposite to each other, that is vector A and B. And if two vectors are anti-parallel to each other, then theta is equal to 180, which we have seen details, that is theta is equal to 180 degree. And if theta is equal to 180 degree, then what is the value of sine 180? Sine 180 is always equal to 0. So that's why the cross product of this given vector, that is vector A cross of vector B, is equal to AB sine theta. So write down here instead of theta, that is 180, AB sine 180, that is 0. So AB into 0, that is 0. So this is vector A cross of vector B. So vector A cross of vector B is equal to 0 when two vectors are anti-parallel to each other. I think you got it. So this is about the characteristics of cross product when two vectors are parallel or anti-parallel to each other. Now let us move towards next characteristics of this cross product. The cross product of rectangular unit vectors. The cross product of rectangular unit vectors. Now see, what about the rectangular unit vectors we have seen? If these vectors are mutually perpendicular to each other like that, suppose these are the vectors which are mutually perpendicular to each other. Vector A, so we write here x-axis, so this is x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, and the unit vectors of x, y, z axis are I cap, j cap, k cap. So I cap, j cap, k cap are the unit vectors of x, y, z axis. Okay. So in this case, the cross product will be suppose I write here vector I cap cross of vector I cap. Then what will be the cross product of these two given vectors? Means I cap. I cap is the unit vector for x axis. Therefore, I cap cross of I cap. So what will be the cross product? The cross product will here I sin theta. And what is sin theta? I sin theta. Sin theta is equal to 0. So I sin 0 is equal to 0. I 0. So I 0 is equal to 0. So therefore I cap cross of I cap is equal to 0. Okay. Similarly, with the conclusion of this, similarly we can write what? That is I j cap cross of j cap is equal to 0. Then k cap cross of k cap is equal to 0. So for solving numericals or critical applications which depends on this article, so you should be memorize these 3 points, and these 3 points are I cap cross I cap, it should be equal to 0. Then j cap cross of j cap, it is also 0, and k cap cross k cap is also equal to 0. So what about vector I cap cross of vector j cap? Vector I cap cross of vector j cap. So what is the value of that? I cap cross of j cap. Yes. So using left hand rule,